Distinguished members of the Fourth Estate of the Rim, I welcome you to this brief press briefing. This morning I wish to use this opportunity to address two fundamental issues. As the nation ages towards the 2027 election, it is an important moment in the history of our country. Our democracy has been able to survive all sorts of turbulence, crises, and storms in the last 26 to 27 years. This is the first time in the history of our country that democracy has lasted so long. We have seen what happened in the First Republic, we have seen what happened in the Second Republic, and we also saw what happened in the aborted Third Republic. We have seen our democracy pass through periods of trial in the last 26 years, and we are able to emerge stronger. I know it has always been the case each time election is very close by. People make a lot of pessimistic predictions about the unity, the peace and stability of our country. But like all other countries of the world, we also have our problems and they also have their problems. Even the most advanced democracies that have been practicing democracy for over 2 centuries, they have also been facing their own problems. There is no perfect democracy anywhere in the world. So it is on the foundation of that I wish to address you today. We are hopeful that the 2027 election will be the one that will be transparent, credible, and will offer Nigerians the opportunity to elect or re-elect those who will lead them or those who will represent them at the two arms of government, whether the executive or the legislature. The parties have been able to conform by the INEC rules and also by the extant electoral rules of the country. Many have conducted their primaries and they have also submitted their names of their candidates to the umpire electoral body. And we hope and we pray that this election ahead will usher in a stronger, united country that will produce leaders that will lead us to the next phase of our national life. But I'm a bit concerned about 3 things which I said there is a need for us to take a very critical look at it as a people and as a country. One is the sectional and ethnic dimension of our politics and our politicking. At this time of our country's life, we should assess, analyze, and elect leaders based on what they stand for and what they can deliver for us as a country. The use of ethnic, sectional, and religious sentiment to attack political leaders or contestants or candidates or political parties does not augur well for our country. I know that when politicians are desperately looking for votes and seeking to be elected into office, they can use any tool, any arm, anything at their disposal for them to be able to get to where they want to be. But before our own individual ambition, there must be a country first. There is no country, we will not be able to realize our own individual ambitions as people. We have seen how nations within our continent have gone into war and crisis, and we also have that experience as a nation. In the 70s, and we have passed through all those phases, and we ought to have overcome all those things now. The use of ethnic groups, religious groups to undermine, to destroy, to damage and attack our political parties and candidates is not in the best interest of our country. If you are campaigning for political positions, you should campaign based on issues, based on your programs and based on policies. And if you are taking on a candidate, you take him on based on issues, on his policies and his pronouncement and his plans. But you cannot hide behind religiosity or ethnicity or sectionalism to condemn or cast aspersion on candidates, which is very wrong. Now, the second aspect of it is that the opposition in Nigeria are particularly the ones led by His Excellency, the former Vice President, whom I have always respected as a distinguished statesman, have taken our politics to outside of Nigeria. The idea of seeking easy road to power by their strive towards seeking validation on President Trump and the EU is not helpful to our democracy. They should concentrate on issues and make themselves available and appealing to the electorate rather than trying to criminalize the president or criminalize his political ambition or seek President Trump or the EU to disqualify him. It's not in our best interest as a country. By what they are doing, they are damaging the reputation of the country. They are criminalizing the whole of our country as an independent African country, as also an opposition in Nigeria. They should be able to reach out to the masses, convince them of the need for them to evict, reject, or dislodge the ruling party without becoming subservient and kowtowing to the interests of the Western world. So, as far as I'm concerned, I believe this is simply exacerbating or escalating the image of Nigeria as far as I'm concerned. You have seen how the South Africans have been criminalizing our people. You have seen how even our people are being pushed out in Ghana. You have seen the kind of hatred against and contempt against Nigerians in all parts of the world. Well, you cannot now, as an opposition leader, go out of Nigeria trying to criminalize the president, trying to criminalize our democratic system, trying to seek the disqualification of President Tinubu simply because he want to be in power. When in the past others tried to use that against the former vice president, many of us were very critical of that. So we are an independent country. No one should go outside of our country trying to seek the support of those persons, those nations there to come and dictate to us what we should do in our country. So I believe that that is a very bad negative strategy, political strategy, that is not helpful for our country and also for the image of our country. The third issue I want to address is the recent statement made by the former Vice President Atiku on his pledge to restore petroleum subsidies. I've been an activist and also someone who dedicated most part of his life in support of subsidy in the past, because as an activist, we, under our own groupings, civil society and labor, we many times protested in support of subsidy in Nigeria. But at a certain time, we had to ask ourselves a number of questions with regards to the subsidy issues, which we couldn't get answers to. But specifically on the person of the distinguished statesman, Atiku, I believe that what he's saying is outright deception from Nigerians. As someone who has always subscribed to Bretton Woods institution, neoliberal economic policies, someone who believes in World Bank, IMF prohibiting the devaluation of currency, privatization of public enterprise, and all sorts of policies, capitalist bourgeoisie economic policies, and someone who has, in all his political history and campaign, stood for removal of subsidy. For someone now to have made a reversal simply because he needs votes, there is need for Nigerians to seriously not take it seriously with what he has said. For a number of reasons, what he said is virtually impracticable. Impractical in the sense that, first of all, he has made several statements in support of removal of subsidy. And now, election in the next 2-3 months, he's pledging to the people that he is going to restore subsidy, which is virtually impossible and an act of pure deception. And the factors are very clear. First of all, Nigeria has been spending over 3 to 4 trillion naira subsidizing petroleum products, which was very shameful as an oil exporting country, a country that has been so blessed with oil. We are pumping about 4 to 5 trillion in order to subsidize petroleum, importation of petroleum products. I don't think that makes any economic sense to anybody, anywhere in the world. Secondly, we have seen how beneficiaries of subsidies use this mantra of subsidy to defraud our country. Many of them have cases in court where hundreds of billions of naira was looted and diverted from the national treasury in the name of importation of petroleum subsidy. I don't think any candidate that is worthy of leadership should pull us back to that era. We have also seen how subsidy has been used by unscrupulous elements to smuggle petroleum products to our neighboring countries. When Nigeria subsidizes, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Benin Republic don't subsidize, what is very clear is that our own petroleum product will be cheaper than the one they are buying in their country, and then people will now start smuggling those things here. That has stopped with the erasure of subsidy in our economic life. It's also been able to provide resources for subnationals, for state governments and local governments, for them to be able to use for roads, for schools, for hospitals, and also be able to address their own capital and recurrent expenditures in their own states. It is a fact that before 2023, our economy has granted to a halt, and states, many of them are highly indebted, and they can't even do anything. But now they have resources, and construction work, infrastructure development projects, and many things are going on in the states. So do we want to go back to where we come from? I think it's a question that we need to ask ourselves, and I don't think any reasonable person will think of that. The next phase of it is that Nigeria is currently using about 80% of its revenue to service debt. So where are we going to get trillions of naira to be pumping to people who simply are engaged in business of importation of goods to subsidize what we already have as a country to our own people. So if any politician make pledges of revamping our refineries that we can be able to refine our own crude oil, then he's making sense. But a politician that has been in the economic field for a very long time, telling us that the way forward for us as an oil producing country is to continue to import all petroleum products and again use our own foreign currency to subsidize for our people to consume. For how long can we continue to do that? Now look at what is happening in Burkina Faso today. The young man here, Captain Trout, nationalized the gold industry in Burkina Faso, and he is able to refine his gold to sell it to the outside world. Why is someone like His Excellency Atiku not thinking of revamping our refinery to refine our products for our own people? That makes reason. And again, I don't think it makes any sense for a man like Dangote to have invested billions of dollars to build a refinery in Lagos. And instead of patronizing refined petroleum product from his own industry, we prefer to go to other nations and be importing diesel, importing petroleum, importing paraffin wax, importing engine oil, all in the interest of subsidizing it to our people. So I don't think any nation can think of its positive future if all that it has is to import and subsidize for consumption. And let us not deceive ourselves. The return of subsidy will not bring down the prices of commodities. It will simply distort the economic stability of our country. So I know very well that the removal of subsidy is causing a lot of hardship and economic suffering in the lives of our people. And it has been one policy that has created bad blood between the ordinary Nigerians and this administration. But addressing the problem is not going back to the past, but moving towards the future. Let us appreciate the fact that President Tinubu has pledged to revamp our refineries. And I know that there are people who want to sell these refineries. So, and they are not making a statement about it until maybe when they have power in their own hands. But as far as I'm concerned, his claim is misleading, his claim is not true, his claim is simply a political Trojan horse to garner votes, and I don't think if he is in power, he will ever think of removing. But it's promises made by politicians, naturally. A politician can make a promise when he gets there and then he uses up certain issues and say that is the reason why he can't do this, he cannot do that. But I think it's very important also for the federal government to know that the reform programs need a human face. In the sense that as an oil producing country, we should not be suffering. Our refineries should be working, because those countries who are importing those petroleum products also are using refineries. It's also important for us as Nigerians to also understand the positive side of this reform. No nation in the world can ever progress and advance from where it is without economic reform. Economic reform is what led South Korea to where it is today. Economic reforms under Lee Kuan Yew is what led Singapore to where it is today. Economic reform under Mahathir Mohamad in Malaysia is what led to where it is today. Economic reform is what led Indonesia to be where it is today. Economic reform is what led India to be where it is under the BJP. So we cannot escape from that. Economic reform under Deng Xiaoping in China is what led China to where it is today. So there are discomforts, there are inconveniences, and there are issues that comes with reforms. But the stronger message also I want to give to Nigerian political leaders and political elite is that in as much as Nigerians are ready to make sacrifices for the future of our country, for the future of our people, then sacrifices should also be seen in the hearts, the minds, and the lives of those people holding positions of political authority and power. We cannot tell the ordinary people to suffer, to make sacrifices while we see ostentatious and opulent lifestyle in the lives of people holding position of power and authority. So cutting the size of government, making personal sacrifices by those the executive legislative arm is very important. And let us also understand that for those who are seeking political positions, that the country doesn't have to fall because you lose elections. The country doesn't have to scatter into pieces because you lose elections. And also, there should not be, it shouldn't be apocalyptic if you cannot win. It's a contest. And people should stop making negative predictions about the future of our country. We're a nation of 230 million people. We have seen what is happening in Sudan today and Libya. And we must be very careful in managing our crises and our issues as a country. And for me, as a person, my own personal opinion, I strongly believe that 2027 election should be for Southern presidential candidate, because it is unfair, it is unjust, it is inequitable for any northerner to think of contesting election in 2027. Buhari has had it for 8 years. It is not written in any of our laws, it's not written in any of the constitution of our country. But the fact remains, this country has gone through crisis, problems, civil war, and the need to respect the diversity of our nation and the need to give every part of the country the opportunity to produce a leadership for this country is as important as the survival, the peace, and the unity of our country. So I am very much in support of President Tinubu for his re-election, and I very much support that the opposition party should consider a Southern presidential candidate so that the North will not be challenged in 2031 for fielding a candidate in 2027. Because if the North field a candidate in 2027, it will be challenged in 2031 that it has not respected the principle of rotation of power. And I don't think that is required. So you can't eat your cake and have it. If you have a presidential candidate in 2027, also make it possible for the South to say they will still contest in 2031. So let us respect the realities of our history. Let us also respect the realities of our diversity, and let us work towards a peaceful and credible election in 2027. Thank you and God bless.
From around the nation to every corner of the world, delivering the stories that matter. This is First Next News.